Peter Taylor. Peter, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, mate. It's a bit technical for me to press all those buttons to get in, but
I've got someone that helps me. So between us, hopefully we can get by on it. But yeah, brilliant to have you on. Thank you. Thank you. Nicky Hayes is here as well, so he's waving at you. So
good stuff. Good stuff.
Fantastic. So yeah, first of all, how are you today? How are you doing?
I'm all right. I think I mentioned to you that I came back early. We had a week planned in Northumberland, and we come back a day early because of the weather's atrocious up there in the end. So it was safer to come back last night than it was today. But how are you anyway? I know you're in a very busy 24 hours, and hopefully it's going
well. 2 hours in, so I'm all right at the moment. I've got lots of sweets and chocolate. It's not going to be a very good day for my diet that I'm on at the moment. But yeah, I'm all right at the moment. Thank you. So I was just going to start off talking about your love to Southend. Someone of my generation, I remember you as a manager, but you're one of my dad's favourite ever players. So how much do you still look out for Southend, and how much does the club still mean to you?
Well, all the time, to be honest with you. And I suppose that's one of the nice things when you do get a little bit older. You've got more history, and then you've got a lot more clubs that you've been at, and you've got more memories. And so that every time you read the papers on a Sunday morning, there's a lot of clubs that I look at, and Southend, of course, has been incredibly interesting lately, and we've all been panicking. We're all keeping our fingers crossed that it's going to get sorted, because I think everybody's shown their love for the club, and the togetherness of the supporters, I think, has got stronger and stronger, and it means a lot. And so I've got very, very happy memories. Southend United is where I started. I used to sweep the terraces, and you would find some money every now and again, which would be handy. And but that was I think I got involved in the first team after about a month of signing, and when Jeff Hudson and was the manager. So it was. I've got lovely memories of it, because it started me off, and then eventually I went to different places.
Yeah, and what a career you had. Crystal Palace, Tottenham immediately spring to mind. So you must be very proud, and England as well, of course, when you look back at it now. Just how proud are you of the playing career that you had?
Well, it's funny. I was in Kent about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and somebody said to me, "Have you got any regrets?" I said, "Well, look, I've got to be honest with you. I'm sure as a manager or as a player, you've made bad decisions. But overall, I look back at my career and I say, well, I've managed to play in all levels. I've managed to manage in all levels. Enjoyed every one of them. Enjoyed the challenge of taking on a low-level team, and it's lovely also to manage the England team, because you've got the very, very best players, and so it's all been very interesting. It's all been a good challenge, but the day I do finally finish, I think I look back with say, well, it's been okay. It's been a good career.
Yeah, and if we go on to your management side of things, obviously you came to Southend. That must have been a real honour to you. Obviously you started your career as a player at Southend, so to then manage them as well. I mean, that must have been a real exciting proposition for you.
Yeah, I think I'll be honest with you. I think that was one of my. I was in non-league managing then at that time. I had a couple of years at Watford, and then I went back into non-league to manage. And then all of a sudden, I found out that Southend wanted to talk to me, because Barry Fry had gone to Birmingham. Very difficult time to go to Southend, because Barry had done such an outstanding job. But I went there, and then that's when I first met, very sadly, the late Colin Murphy. That's where I first met him with Vic Jobson. We agreed that I was then going to join, and my first game was against West Bromwich Albion at Root Hall, and I walked out about 5-3 and got a tremendous welcome and from everybody. So that was a really, really proud moment for me to manage my local club, because as people in the area would have known, I used to take Sunday morning teams and things like that. So I always planned that I was going to end up as being a coach somewhere. And so that was a very, very good experience for me to start off at Southend. It wasn't an easy job at that time, but it was. But I learned from things that have happened, and I probably learned from mistakes as well.
Yeah. What would you learn if you had your time again and you got the job and you learned what you did when you actually had it? What would you have done differently? Because it was tough, wasn't it? Because it was going well. So did you kind of just try and keep it going as it was, rather than putting your own stamp on things to start with, or just how tough was it?
To be honest with you, Chris, I've been into a lot of clubs. You know, I followed Tony Pulis at Gillingham. I followed Martin O'Neill at Leicester. I've followed some really, really popular managers. So, and Barry Fry was one as well. And so I know how to go into a club when the manager's popular and the team have been doing well. That's the last thing you do is when that team's doing well, you don't change too much. And I didn't have any plans at all to change anything. But as soon as I went into Southend, we sold Brett Angel, we sold, I think, Jason Lee, Stan had already gone just then. So all of a sudden in the Championship at that time, which was a very tough division for Southend, and we then lose some of our best players, because if anybody tries to sign your players, 9 times out of 10 they sign your best ones. They don't sign your worst ones, and so it means the team was then a little bit weaker. So it was a struggle, you know. It was tough, but eventually I think we'd have been okay in the end. But it was a good learning situation for myself and some of the players. Blimey, Steve Tilson, Chris Powell, what wonderful professionals, absolutely brilliant professionals. And so it was good. And as I say, to manage my local team was terrific.
And to manage your country, obviously, with England under-21s to start with. I mean, what a fantastic honour that must have been, and it was an incredible record that you had.
Yeah, again, I say this to people that, you know, when I started as a youngster, born in Rochford, I was football crazy. And even when I was playing for Southend and playing for Crystal Palace, I was running Sunday morning teams. So I made up my mind that I was going to be a coach. I knew I was going to be a coach. And then all of a sudden, that phone call from the FA to say, would you manage the country? I know I'd had the experience of the under-21s, but to manage the senior team was such an honour, and I knew it was just for one game, and when I knew it was going to be against Italy, which was a tough game, but it was a terrific experience. We had 4 or 5 days of a get together, and I decided, I asked the FA, is there any restrictions on who I pick? And they said no. And I said, right, I'm going to pick a younger squad. And that's what I did. I picked a younger squad, and Sven-Goran Eriksson come in. He knew he was going to take over. And I think he saw that we had a young squad that was ready. And when you pick a young squad, which Gareth does now, they always train straight away. They don't need rest anymore, these players. They're so fit. And so it probably means you get another 1 or 2 days of preparation because they're so young.
Yeah, and we've got a few questions come up now after you talking about England there. So this one, how close were you to getting the England job after your under-21 stint, or permanently? Was that ever on the cards, or was it always just purely for that one game?
No, that time was just for one game, but there was a time just before that where when Steve McLaren got the job, I think I was very, very close then, you know, which again, of course, would have been an honour. And but unfortunately, it didn't go my way on that one. But again, with the FA, I started in '96. When Glenn Hoddle was the senior manager, and he asked me to be the full-time under-21, because they used to have a part-time under-21 manager, but then he went full-time. So I had 3 years there, and then I went back on a couple of occasions as part-time when I was managing Hull, and I was managing Leicester and managing Crystal Palace doing the 21. So I had some good experience there, but unfortunately I never ever got the senior job permanently. But I don't think I'd have changed again too much. I think I'd have picked a younger squad and enjoyed it.
Yeah, obviously you're also well known for making David Beckham the England captain. So we've got a few questions coming through about that. Have you watched the Netflix documentary about him yet? That's quite interesting. Have you seen it yet?
Yeah, I started watching it. I think we're at number 3 or whatever I think we're at. But yeah, he hasn't given me a mention. But perhaps because I'm out of work now, and he forgot my name. But no, but he deserved it. Honestly, he was. People don't realise that after he did get sent off against Argentina, which should have been a yellow card at most. And then all of a sudden he had a bad year, getting stick from anybody that wasn't a Man United fan. But he handled it brilliantly, and what people didn't realise is that every time there was an England get together or a friendly or a match, he was always there. He never ever missed. There's a lot of people at that time were missing matches, and but he never missed them. He always wanted to be there, and I felt as though he deserved it. Looking back at the squad that I picked, probably Gareth Southgate or Gary Neville may have been better captains. But David, the way it's turned out for David, he turned out to be a superb captain, and it didn't affect his performance. That's one of the things I think that you've got to be careful which captain you pick, because sometimes they want to cover everything on the pitch, and they then don't play as well as they can play.
Yeah, we've got a few more questions. Just how good was David Beckham?
Outstanding crosser of the ball. So if fullbacks didn't get tight enough to him, he'd cross it. He had great vision. So if they did get too tight at times, he could play people in who made themselves available. But he just worked at everything. Honestly, I've seen him after training be on the training pitch on his own for an hour, just practicing free kicks. And when they played against Greece, I wasn't there anymore. But when they played Greece at Old Trafford, and he had about 3 or 4 free kicks where he never scored, I knew he would get one. He would definitely get one, because it couldn't happen. There's no way he'd go 4 or 5 without hitting a target and having a good chance. So he was, honestly, one thing about David is that whatever he does it seriously. So he'd have been asking millions of questions. How can I be a good captain? What type of things shall I ask the manager, and so on.
Yeah. Who was your best player under 21? Who was the best player you called up for the under 21s that you worked with during that period?
I'm very lucky. I could give you a dozen names: Rio Ferdinand, Emil Heskey, Michael Owen, Frank Lampard. Honestly, I've been so fortunate to work with all those players at an early age. I've worked with Harry Kane at under 20. So I'm so lucky. Some of the players that I've worked at. The best professional I've ever worked with is James Milner. Unbelievable, James Milner. Still going strong now at Brighton. I doubt they do long running anymore, but if they ever done long running, it'd still win it. But he's an outstanding pro. He's another one that we had to say to him, come on, James, get off that pitch or get out the gym. He just didn't stop working to try and make himself a better player. And fantastic pro. I always thought Kieran Dyer was going to be a superstar, and he could have been a superstar. He had brilliant ability. I had him as a 17-year-old playing left wing back for the under 21s at 17. But unfortunately, I just think he just had a few injuries, and he was so unlucky, broke his leg at once as well. It definitely affected his career. He was a terrific lad and a terrific player.
Next one, how good is Jude Bellingham? He's one we're all getting excited about at the moment. We've got Southend link with him because his first game he ever saw because of his dad was a Southend game. So we're trying to claim him as a shrimper. But how excited are you by his progress?
No, well, what I love about him as well is that for a young lad, all of a sudden you get signed by Real Madrid, and he takes on the press conference as if it's nothing, And so I thought, what a confident boy. Spoke a little bit of Spanish, I think, on that. I thought he just looks as though he's got so much time. I was watching the game the other night, and the first thing he done, it looks as though it looks like it was just a little game at South Church Park for him. It's amazing, honestly. Yeah. He was fabulous. So when you're in control that much, you've got a chance of hurting the opposition, and that's what he does.
Yeah, and you yourself, how does your passion keep going? Obviously, you're still managing up until recently. I think Maldon Tiptree was your last club. Are you still hungry for more? Do you want to keep going? And what's your secret? What keeps you want to sort of keep doing it? You must be mad.
Well, I'm probably like all them other managers that while you're in a job, it's a nightmare. You don't sleep right, but the minute you're out of job, you want another job. It's as simple as that. And I still love the game. I still think about it a lot. I still think about training sessions that I know that I could do or whatever. So I still enjoy that. I'm doing a little bit of scouting at the minute for Dagenham. I'm going to go to Southend tomorrow and Tuesday. So hopefully, I can see some more opposition in the National League. But but I still love it, honestly. And I walk most days on the Southend seafront to keep myself ticking over. I'm just happy to wake up every morning. And then football, I don't think it'll ever change. Hopefully, I'll always keep loving it.
Yeah, and just finally, hopefully a brighter future for Southend. I know we touched on it a little bit before. It's been a bit up in the air, hasn't it, about what was going to happen and if we might even have a club anymore. So it's been extremely worrying. And obviously with the club being so close to your heart, you must have been among those that were really concerned.
Yeah, oh, without a doubt. As I say, the last thing anybody wants here is not having a football club, and I think we're all very proud of the football club. And as I say, and over the years, I think it's got stronger and stronger. I think the support is magnificent. I've been to some of the games, and the atmosphere is terrific. And I think that's shown their strength as well. And they deserve a good football club. And I hope this takeover happens. I'm sure they're very serious about it. If it means they can help Kevin, because I think Kevin and Darren and Mark, they've done such a good job. They really have, because it's difficult for players to play every week and give the 100% commitment if they don't know what's happening for their futures. It's very, very difficult. And I think that the management team have been absolutely magnificent in keeping them strong. And if they can, don't get too many injuries, their first 11 is a very, very good team for the National League. And yeah, we're all keeping our fingers crossed, and hopefully the new consortium, it's all gets sorted out.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thanks so much for taking time out of your day to talk to us today. Hopefully see you at Roots Hall tomorrow as well. So thank you.
Good luck. Good luck. 20 odd hours. Well done, mate.
Yeah,
well done.
I might need a coffee when I see you in the morning. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Well done.